Hey guys! I hope that you guys are doing amazing wherever you are in the world. My name is Shikha and I welcome you to my channel. As always, I'm so grateful that you guys are listening, subscribing, and commenting on my channel. I appreciate the support. In this video, I wanted to speak to you guys about change and how do INFJs deal with change, specifically healthy versus unhealthy INFJs, right? And so there's obviously different levels in the way INFJs are going to deal with change. And as I said, it really depends on whether you are healthy or unhealthy. But also, obviously, your life experiences and your outlook on the world is going to dictate that a lot as well. So it's not typically just INFJs deal with change like this, but there's a lot of factors involved within it. But I'm going to give you like an overview of what I think are the basics with regards to this. I've done a video on this in the past about restlessness and how INFJs have this thing about constantly changing their life, constantly changing everything about their lives because we get bored easily. And I noticed this within myself as well, and other INFJs that I speak to, where even though they're living in a condo or a place which is perfectly fine, after a year or 2 or 3 years, they'll be like, I think I just want to change. I just want to move to a different place. I think that I need another place to live in. Even though this place works perfectly fine, I think it's time for a change, right? And in the past, for me, I used to do this by traveling. So I would move around a lot. I would go to different places and live in different places. And also I would quit my job and I'd go traveling to like 10 different countries in 9 months, something like that. And that's what I needed. I needed that kind of constant movement, constant change in order to make me understand myself better, but also to alleviate that restlessness that I used to have. Now, I've spoken about this in the other video as well, that meditation really helped me calm myself down and be more content with the present moment, whatever it might be, rather than always rushing to find something new. But change has always been a major part of my life, and I love change in general. You know how some people are like, oh my God, I hate change. I just want things to stay the same forever and ever and ever. I am definitely not like that. And I know INFJs are definitely not like that. We love change. In fact, I think we love change so much is because we like to imagine that change helps us grow as an individual. And which is true, right? I mean, the more changes you go through, the more you adapt to the changes and the more you grow as an individual. You grow from the inside out, your personality changes, your outlook on the world changes, you become perhaps a bigger, more expansive person, versus a person who just sits in the same space and does exactly the same thing every single time. You as an INFJ who loves change is going to grow and expand faster and faster and faster. Yeah? That's one of the reasons why we love change and why we're so good at it is because we know that life is all about change. And there is no way, even if you try extremely hard, there's no way you can keep things the same for the rest of your life. Maybe they'll stay the same for a week, 2 weeks, maybe even a year. But eventually things will change. Your boyfriend might break up with you, or your parents might leave, go off to another eternity or to another lifetime. Your dog will as well, move on and do his own thing. And your job might fire you, or you're going to get older and you're going to change as well. So there's always motion happening. There's always chaos. The universe is constantly moving towards chaos, and it's always constantly changing. As an INFJ, we know that intuitively. We know that life is all about change. And so we don't really get upset when change happens because we're like, well, why are you upset? Didn't you expect this? Of course you have to expect it because that's life. Life is all about change. And if you don't expect it, then you're going to be surprised because it's going to happen anyways, right? So in our heads, we always know that change is going to happen and we're prepared for it. I mean, we know it's going to happen, we know it's coming, and we're ready for it. Right? Now, as I said, there's a difference between unhealthy and healthy INFJs in the way they deal with change. I would imagine that the healthier you are, the easier it is for you to deal with change because you have adapted yourself to that idea, but also you're not attached to any idea specifically. You're not attached to any idea of yourself or any idea of what you're doing with your life or any idea of how the world works. You constantly are expecting change. And then change happens and you're like, all right, cool. I was expecting this to happen. So that's fine. I find that when you're an unhealthy INFJ, you get attached to the ideas of yourself, or you get attached to the idea that you're an INFJ, or you get attached to the idea that, the world sucks and everyone is terrible and humanity sucks and things like that. We kind of get enamored in a certain way of looking at the world, a certain viewpoint, and then we're stuck with it. And we don't try to change ourselves because we're afraid. Fear comes into it, trauma comes into it. There's a lot of different things that come into it. And we get attached to a certain way of looking at the world, and that's it. We don't try to move or budge out of that. And if someone forces us to, we get angry at them or we get upset with them. And we're like, why are you trying to do this to me? Why don't you love me anymore? Why don't you want me to stay in the same place forever, right? And I don't know exactly where you are on the spectrum because there's a wide range, obviously, a wide spectrum in between healthy and unhealthy INFJ. So certain moments you might be like, yeah, it's cool, change is great, I'm really happy with it. And some other moments you're not doing so well, perhaps, or you're having a tough day, and if something changes, your routine changes or something like that, you just kind of blast off into space and you get angry and start throwing things and throwing a tantrum and things like that, right? So from day to day, it's going to change as well, obviously. And also, it's going to change depending on how you feel about that specific item, right? So for me, changing condos or changing countries is not a big deal. I've done it many times, and so I'm used to it. I do it as if it's changing my underwear or changing clothes, right? So my level of change is much higher than someone else's level of change, right? Perhaps your level is not that high, right? Like you were never the kind of person who moved around a lot when you were young, or perhaps you did move around a lot, but you didn't really like it, and you like to stay in the same place forever. And so that's why if something changes, even minor changes, right? Like, for example, someone says they're going to meet you at 7, but they end up coming at 8, and they message you about it, or they didn't message you about it. Either way, you get angry. You're like, well, this is a major change. Why didn't you inform me? And this is disrespectful, etc., etc., etc. So even minor changes will affect you much more than someone who's adapted to it, right? Now, this has a lot to do with my viewpoint on change. I love change, but also the fact that my parents moved around a lot when I was younger, and so I'm used to change in general. I've been used to it since I was a toddler. We moved out of my birthplace, New Delhi, when I was 5 months old. So I was on a plane at 5 months, and I'm moving countries. I moved to the Middle East then. So I think it's ingrained into me. Also, my parents moved around a lot, so my ancestors moved around a lot. We moved from one city in India to another because of work issues. So I think my ancestors and my genetics have kind of ingrained into me that change is fine. Actually, change can be really good because it can bring new things to you. It can bring new opportunities, new jobs, new people, new experiences. And all of that is going to make you grow and change and expand as a human being. And that's something as an INFJ I'm always looking for. I want to expand. I don't want to stand still. I don't want to be in one place for the rest of my life. I want to constantly be growing, expanding, becoming more and more of that best version of myself as much as possible, right? So that's what I think about change in general. Now, you guys are obviously different individuals with unique life experiences, so change might affect you differently as it does for me, as opposed to me. Perhaps you had a life experience where your parents moved you around a lot, but you hated it. I loved it, but my sister didn't like it that much, or my brother. So they don't really like change that much. They like things to remain the same. You might be in the same boat. You didn't actually like moving around so much, and so you like to stay in the same place forever and ever and ever. And that's fine. It's not necessarily a bad thing. Just to realize that change is inevitable, right? It's going to happen no matter what. Even if you're waiting for it or you're not waiting for it, life is about change. You can't stand still for the rest of your life. It's not going to happen. Eventually, life is going to push you and be like, all right, cool. So you've been standing still for a while now. It's time for you to do something new, right? And so the universe is going to be like, yeah, enough standing around. Do something with your life kind of thing, right? And so that's what I think about change. Again, if you guys have any questions about this topic or any other topics, please let me know. Obviously, all of my contact information is in the description below, but I prefer that you guys email me. Don't Facebook or Messenger or Instagram me for any questions. I want you guys to email me. And again, if you guys are interested, you can support me on Patreon. You can donate $1 a month or $5 a month and support me in this journey of sharing more and more good stuff with you. Again, thank you so much for all of this energy and support that you guys have been sending my way. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.